Welcome to Comics with Dan, and we're going to be reviewing Space Ghost number 10. So after a slight delay on issue number 10, the Space Ghost crew is back, and they are facing something a little different than what they've faced before, the Space Spectre. Think of it as a bizarro Space Ghost. He has like the inverse colors. He's much more brutal than Space Ghost, and he's definitely seen some stuff. We open with a reveal of the Space Spectre. This definitely could spell some trouble for Space Ghost, considering that the Spectre's first victim mistakes him for Space Ghost. Being from the future, Space Spectre begins searching for a project from RoboCorps. Who would have guessed they would be at the center of this trouble? He searches for this RoboCorps project that ends up being disastrous in the future and tries to put a stop to it before it can even start. This is when our heroes, Space Ghost, Jan, Jason, Blip, come on the scene. They meet Space Spectre, and action ensues. It's a fairly basic plot for about 90% of the book, but that last 10%, which there's no way I'm going to spoil in this review, is an absolute banger. I mean, it has me so hyped up for like the next year of Space Ghost, or at least the next couple of issues, right? We're definitely going to be seeing some exciting stuff coming up. If you really want to know, without getting the book, in the solicits for the next couple issues, a couple of things are revealed. But if you don't read the solicits, then you can be nice and surprised whenever you pick up Space Ghost number 10. In addition to the action, we also get some really nice moments between Space Ghost and the kids. This is something that David Pepose does regularly. He does it extremely organically to where it doesn't feel like he's forcing it into each issue. It's genuine moments that Space Ghost is having with this found family of his. I think that by the time that this series is done and they have to end up, parting ways or however they're going to decide to end it, I think it's just going to be a tearjerker of an ending. I mean, the relationship that David Pepose is establishing with the supporting cast of Space Ghost is it's phenomenal. I think that the writing is just top notch. Every so often in this series, it kind of feels like David Pepose's instruction for Jonathan Lau in the script is to just go crazy. And then he does. I mean, Jonathan Lau has this incredibly classic style, especially when it comes to the way that he inks. And by that, I mean that his pencils have just an incredible amount of detail in them, like you can see in a lot of classic comic artists. But then in addition to that, the way that he inks, he's not afraid to lay it on, right? I mean, he has really thick, dark shadows. I mean, you can see in this panel here, a lot of the great inking that he does to sort of really bolden those lines and really make everything pop and have that great sort of space for Andrew Dalhouse to come in and top off with the colors. The action that he draws is incredibly dynamic, which is something that he's been able to do throughout the entire series. And he's also able to get really expressive faces, even with the masks on the characters. I never have any question. I don't think any of his faces look awkward. And honestly, that's something that I feel like you come across in big name comic books more frequently than you would think. I could continue to gush about Jonathan Lau's work, for the rest of the review, right? But the truth is that he's just incredibly consistent, and I look forward to his art every single time I pick up an issue of Space Ghost. Andrew Dalhouse does an excellent job once again. It just becomes increasingly apparent how much time and consideration Dalhouse puts into Lau's art style when he does the coloring. And so that's something that I've touched on frequently in these reviews about Space Ghost, all these different Space Ghost issues, is that Dalhouse is tailoring his coloring to Lau's work, right? And so it's a compliment that I've given him just about every issue I've reviewed, and it's a compliment that he has earned every single issue. The one thing I noticed in this issue that, is perhaps slightly different, or maybe just something I'm just noticing for the first time, is the sort of color palettes that Dalhouse uses. So like in this particular example, on the screen here, we have, an image of Space Spectre, right? And so the the Space Spectre has sort of the inside of his cape is this purple color, right? And this sort of like cosmic, midnight bluish purple, right? And so if you look at the background behind him, it's a lot of like grays and dark charcoals and things like that. And so it really just sort of meshes the page together. But then on top of that, you have this giant ball of fire sitting in front, which really pops off the page, right? So this is the kind of stuff that a good colorist can do, right? That you might not even realize that they're doing, or that they're impacting on the book. In addition, looking at a page like this where all the yellows and the golds in this page, right? And so and Taylor Esposito even gets into it with his letters, with the yellow letters being there. On other occasions, Esposito might have gone with red letters there, but I think because the sort of explosion from Space Spectre slamming down Space Ghost is a goldish, yellowish type of hue. Esposito went with the yellow sound effect and went with the yellow letters there. And so it really just all of it ties the page together. It's cohesion between Dalhouse and Esposito and Lau working together to make this one cohesive image rather than just three parts to the page. And I think that just really goes a long way in making it a good book. Taylor Esposito on letters, again, he does a really creative job on Space Ghost and has for the first 10 issues. I've mentioned that in reviews before. Most people that watch the channel know that I'm a big fan of Taylor Esposito's work. There's probably a little less opportunity to get creative here in this particular issue, but even here, Esposito manages to throw some great sound effects in to get a little creative. You see here he has the orange outline on the speech bubble here, and the yellow text, kind of going out of the norm, emphasizing how much emotion Space Spectre is speaking with in this particular panel. Esposito is consistent. He keeps things fresh. He does a fantastic job working with Lau and Dalhouse to keep the flow of the book going, to make sure that the speech bubble pattern in cohesion with the panel structure that's set up is something that makes the book easy to read and fun to read, and just overall a good reading experience. I think that a lot of people might underestimate how much a good letterer can really tie a book together and make it one great piece of art all on its own. And so Esposito definitely helps this creative team just elevate to the best that they can be. Space Ghost number 10 is in stores this Wednesday, March 5th. It's at a $4.99 price point. I've mentioned before that the quality of the make of the books are really high quality. And so I don't have as much of a problem spending that little extra, that $4.99 as opposed to a $3.99 book. And on top of that, I'm really enjoying every single issue. So I really don't think twice about it being a $4.99 comic, just because it's a good book. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars on League of Comic Geeks. It seems that my ratings of Space Ghost are really trending between the 4 and 5 stars, which means to me that it's just been a really solid book and I've been enjoying every issue. Make sure you like the video, make sure that you subscribe, check out my other videos here, and thank you for watching.